In this video, we are going to continue on with the equipment series where I go through the rod, reel, and line that I like for specific techniques. Now today is all about crankbaits. As you can see right here, crankbaits are one of my absolute favorite ways to catch a bass, fishing a crankbait. It was one of my first loves, and I have been through a lot of different rod and reel and line configurations to kind of figure out exactly what I like, what I think works the best. Now, before we get into the video talking about all the rods, this one is brought to you by my apparel company, Fin Fishing. Right now for the month of September 2024, I am running a sale where you can get a USA made sun shirt as well as a pair of sun gloves for 60 bucks. So you actually save quite a bit of money, and it's really easy. All you got to do is add the sun shirt that you like to cart, add the pair of gloves that you like to cart. It will automatically discount at checkout. I will leave some links down below in the description and in the comments. Shopping at Fin Fishing is truly the best way to help support this channel. I greatly appreciate all of you who have done so. All right, let's talk about cranking. Now, as you can see here, I actually have two different rods, and I'm not going to say that you need two different rods. Basically, these are the exact same rod, except for they are different lengths. Now, anytime that I am fishing a deep diving crankbait like you have right here, I like to have a longer rod. This is a 7-foot 10-inch rod, where this is a 7-foot rod. This is more of a good all-around rod. I'll talk about that in just a minute. But the 7-foot 10 is really great because one of the best things that you can do when it comes to fishing a deep diving crankbait is make a long cast. And one of the best ways to get a long cast is by using a long rod. And so this is actually the ARC Tharp series rocket launcher rod. It's made for crankbaits, and this is a composite rod, meaning that it is part glass, part graphite. And that's actually what I want to talk about first when it comes to all these rods, is that I have used a lot of graphite rods for crankbaits. I've used straight glass rods, whippy, very slow bending rods. They work, but you lose a lot of feel. I have really settled on composite style rods for all my crankbaits. And if you look at some of the best crankbait fishermen in the world, guys like Kevin Van Dam, he also uses a composite rod. So that definitely helps me. But anyways, I have used composite rods for a number of years, and this to me is the best all-around composite rod out there. This is the ARC Tharp series grinder rod. It is a 7-foot rod. Now, what I mean by composite is that it's half glass, it's half graphite, and it has a moderate bend to it. It has a moderate action to it, which means that it bends a little bit further down the blank. If you have a fast action rod, it's only gonna bend more towards the tip. But if a moderate action rod, you can see it has a lot more bend throughout the entire blank. That is critical. I cannot tell you how important it is to have a moderate bending rod when you are fishing a treble hooked lure, especially like we are talking about today, crankbaits, because they truly help you to keep fish on. I remember a number of years ago, I'm not even sure if he still does this, but David Dudley, who's a professional bass angler, talked about actually using a flipping stick when he was out there like throwing a deep diving crankbait. And guess what? I tried it, lost a lot of fish on it, okay? Also broke a lot of line on it. He had his own reasons for doing everything. I just didn't like it, okay? And so anyways, there's a lot of different like opinions out there. And guys, I always highly suggest trying everything that you want to out there. That way you can feel settled on something when you do figure it out. To me, fishing a composite rod is the way to go, and specifically composite rod with fluorocarbon line, okay? Fluorocarbon, it has almost as much stretch as monofilament. I know a lot of you guys may not believe that, but it definitely does. But it does have a little bit more sensitivity. It is more dense than mono. So you get a lot of sensitivity, added sensitivity with that fluorocarbon, but you still have the moderate bend of that rod with using a composite rod. So it's really the best of both worlds. I have sensitivity, and I'm not going to lose nearly as many fish. So that is what I really like as far as the rod goes. This is a 7-foot rod. This is a good all-around rod. I could throw a deep diving crankbait with this rod, but because I have a specific rod for my deep crankbaits, but I use this one a ton. Medium crankbaits, shallow crankbaits, lipless crankbaits. This is the rod that I use. Now, we already talked a little bit about the line, but I didn't talk about the pound test. I like 12 to 14 pound tests pretty much for all my cranking. 12 to 14. I have gone up a little bit at times. There's been a couple times where I'm fishing a square bill in really shallow water around really heavy cover, and I fished 17 and 20 pound tests. But 12 to 14 pound line is the perfect all around line. I actually have been using a lot more 14 pound lately because the line that I use is pretty thin in diameter. And so it's kind of like fishing 12 pound tests, but I get the benefit of having a higher breaking strength with 14 pound tests, which I really like. So anyways, 14 pound line is probably a good all around. You can throw square bills, lipless crankbaits if you want, deep diving crankbaits with that line. I really like the fluorocarbon. Now, let's talk about the reel, because crankbaits are one of the few reels that I do tend to have a little bit slower gear ratios. I fish a lot of like a 6, this is a 6.4 to 1 gear ratio on this one. On my deep diving crankbait, this is actually also a 6.4. So I used to use some 5 point somethings, like 5.8s, 5.4s. It's just a little too slow for me. I like the 6.4. Something in the 6 range I think is perfect for pretty much all of crankbaits. So anyways, that to me is really perfect. Now, I have tried braid with crankbaits before, and I've had some success with it, but I don't really like it anymore. The one time that I will throw it is with a lipless crankbait. Sometimes if you're fishing around heavier grass, it can be advantageous to use the braid, but you just have to be careful. You will definitely lose more fish with braid because there is no stretch there. You're really relying on just the rod to have that bending action. So anyways, guys, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, one more thing that I have to say about crankbaits, because it's one of the most important things, and it involves your crankbait setup, and that is the hooks of your crankbait. Make sure that you are not, for the most part, throwing the stock hooks. You know, like baits that come on Strike King's baits, Rapala's baits, pretty much all of them, they are junk. Okay, these manufacturers do not spend a lot of money on their hooks. Always try to go to a premium hook if you can. There's a lot of good ones out there on the market that I have used. I like the Berkley Fusion 19s. I like the Gamakatsu round bends. I've used the KVD, more of that EWG style. I like a lot of them. I feel like I use a lot more round bends these days. And so there's a lot of good ones out there on the market. All you got to do is try to find the right size hook for the crankbait, and definitely that will be a huge deal with you landing more fish. Is simply changing out the hooks to a premium hook. All right, I'm out of breath for whatever reason, but anyways, those are my crankbait rods. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed this series. Also, don't forget to check out that fin gear, and I will see you guys tomorrow.